If you design office spaces regularly and you're still starting from scratch every time, this workflow will show you how to make each new project build off of the last for a better and faster workflow. Now, every office project obviously comes with its own brief, but the process behind it doesn't have to reset each time. Space planning, desk layouts, meeting rooms, materials, and presentations often follow familiar patterns, yet they're usually redrawn and rebuilt again and again. In this tutorial, we'll walk through a complete office design process from start to finish, and at the same time, you'll learn how to design in a way that compounds over time. Instead of creating one-off drawings, we will use an office design template and a library of editable assets, like CAD blocks, layout modules, and presentation boards, that you can quickly adapt to your future projects. I'm gonna be demonstrating this workflow using Rayon Design. We'll start by importing a DWG file, develop an office layout, placing and customizing workstations and shared spaces, applying materials, and assembling a client-ready presentation, all in one place. Along the way, we're also going to use AI to speed up the decision-making process and improve how our ideas are communicated. You can create a free Rayon account using the link in the description below, where you can follow along and get access to the same templates and assets that I'm going to be using in this workflow today. So that way you can start building a system where every office project builds off of the last and makes the next one faster. Let's go ahead and get started. Whether you are renovating an existing office or designing a new one from the ground up, the process almost always starts the same, and that's going to be by importing a DWG file. Now, to show you how my office design system works, we will walk through a realistic step-by-step project. So from blank model, importing the DWG, reworking the space plan, and then developing the office layout, workstations, mood boards, materiality, all that good stuff. So let's start by importing our DWG file. I'm just working in a blank new model here in Rayon. Now we're just gonna go up to the hamburger menu over here. We'll say import and select DWG. Now I'm going to go find my DWG file. And once we find the DWG file, we will just hit open. And then it's gonna ask you a couple questions about the layers. I'm just gonna say import. The first thing that you will see is your CAD plan. So first we need to draw 2 points, which is prompting us down here to click 2 points. And it says, use a familiar element like a distance that you know. For instance, I usually like to use a door because I typically know the distance or the dimension of the door. And we just want to make sure that we're using the right units and that it's to scale. So I'm going to click on 2 points on my door, and it tells me down here 90 centimeters, and I know that's right. Now, if the units look wrong to you, you can always select a different unit down here. Obviously, this is not a 90-foot door, so centimeters is the most likely here, and then I'm going to just say continue once we have that down. Now it's going to ask us to pick an insertion point. I'm just going to say pick insertion point, click, and then it is going to drop it right in here. So this is what our CAD plan looks like when we bring it in here, and then if we go down and grab a dimension and go dimension that door, click on either side, it says that it's about 3 feet, which is about 90 centimeters, so we are good there. Now, just to give you a little bit of background on this particular project, this is an entire floor renovation in a city tower, which gives us a lot of design freedom to allocate spaces for workstations, meeting rooms, all that good stuff. And now that we have our base plan in here, we can then refer to our office design template to explore some layout typologies and design assets, copy paste them directly into the project, and then we're just gonna have to adjust them, which is gonna save us tons of time instead of starting from scratch. Now, I will say that when your CAD plan comes in, it's going to come in as basically like all vector lines. So you can choose to keep that as is. You can also choose to redraw some elements. So what I typically like to do in my workflow is kind of window over all of this and just say lock down here. So right click lock. And then over here in my layers panel, what I'll do is I'll create a new layer, do something like retrace the walls. So I'll say like Rayon walls. And then what I can do now is I can actually just grab my wall tool down here and make sure that I'm drawing on my new layer and just retrace whatever walls I want to. Now for this particular instance, that we might only be moving around our interior walls. So that might be the only thing that I need to draw, but you can see that you can easily snap. So if I grab my wall tool right here, you can snap to a corner and then just start retracing like this. So it makes it super easy to be able to move things around in here. So if I just retrace this particular instance, and I can easily move this, let's say that we're done. So I'm gonna say enter. And now we've got these actual like movable walls instead of just like vector line drawing. So I can easily move this. This is especially helpful if you're actually planning to move the walls inside the space. You can also easily style these. So there's a lot more content on this on Rayon's YouTube channel, but just to kind of review real quick, you can always stylize a wall by going over into its properties over here, and under styles, we can change the thickness of it. It looks like the thickness is coming in correctly right now, so I'm not going to change that. But for instance, let's say if I wanted to make it like red just to stand out, you can change that to red, and then that way we can easily see that, you know, these are the Rayon walls, and later you can always go in and change that too. So sometimes I'll keep these red as I'm tracing, and then later I will maybe go into the styles and change it, you know, to a hatch or something like that. That looks a little bit more correct. Now, the other cool thing is that if you do create a style that you like, you can just click on the element that has the style and hit this plus sign and say save style. And maybe I'll name this interior wall. Again, you can change some of the properties if you'd like, but now that we've named that, we can reuse that style. And we can also save that style in a template, which I'll show you later on. Now, if I want to apply that style to this wall, I can easily just select the wall that I want to apply it to, click my little eyedropper, eyedrop that style, and it's going to apply that style, so it'll match it. So this just kind of makes that workflow of tracing really easy, and then also just for stylizing later on, it makes it really easy to actually just like apply styles and reuse them, which is kind of the whole premise of this tutorial. So after some tracing and some stylizing, your model might look something like this. So we've got all of the walls and openings and all that stuff drawn in Rayon, so it just makes it easier to adjust if we need to. Again, if you need any more help on redrawing walls, windows, openings, anything like that, you can feel free to check out some of our other tutorials on the Rayon YouTube channel. So now that we've kind of got our whole space mapped out here, let's hop into our office design template and take a closer look at what's going to be behind this workflow. So this is truly where like the real shift happens from designing one project at a time to actually building a system where your work compounds over time. So I'm going to show you how this template is kind of structured, how the editable assets and presentation layouts fit together, and then how we can kind of reuse and adapt everything instead of starting from scratch. You can also access this exact template using the link below. Let's go ahead and begin over here in our canvases. So you can see that this template is kind of laid out in different sections, and we have just a variety of different things that are going to help us here. So to start off, we've got our office modules. So this is just a variety of different like design typologies for workstations, meeting room areas, reception desks, kitchen, et cetera, et cetera. So these are just simple layouts that, again, you can just kind of like select and then right click, copy as export, and then we'll be able to bring those into our working file and do some test fits with those. And then if that doesn't work, you can always, you know, remove a workstation or add a workstation. These are just kind of like a really good starting point. Now, we also have a variety of office layouts in here. So this is a little bit more intricate. These are like full on office layouts. And then also here, we've got some standard elevations that go along with those. So again, just really saving time here. I'll just pop around to a few of these. You can see this just kind of like helps, you know, get the wheels spinning, right? So just kind of like some different odd layouts, some different standard layouts, different ways to kind of start placing things. So again, this is just kind of like a really good starting point. And these are all completely, you know, copy paste as well. And then you can just paste them into your working project and delete anything that you don't need, move anything around, super easy. Now moving down, we've got our elevator and entrance hall here. So office spaces typically include an entrance, lobby, and elevators, which does require some design. And so here we've just got, you know, 4 to 12 people elevator standard sizes and a variety of material finishes that you can just plug and play in new projects. So looking here, zooming in, these are more obviously elevations, and then just like some typical, more detailed floor plans that again, you can just drag and drop or copy paste into our working plan, and you don't have to worry about, you know, the size and all that stuff. So, you know, we've got our 4 people elevator, 6 people, 8 people, and so on. And then again, we've got some details over here that can kind of start the conversation. Now, moving down over here, we've got our mood boards. So, instead of starting at Pinterest each time that you start a new project, we can just start here. Now, Pinterest is fun, but it does take some extra time. And this is just kind of nice because we can just work all in one place. And again, this is our template. So if you continue to find more inspiration or whatever, all you do is just copy and paste those images into your template and create these little clusters that are just easy to, again, drag over, copy, and then paste into our project. And then lastly, we have our presentation template, which I will show you at the end of this tutorial. And this is just going to get us set up for success when we are trying to lay out the entire design at the end of our workflow here. All of these are just different modules, layouts, just details from previous projects that I have just implemented into this one template, so I can just kind of copy paste whenever I need it. So let's go ahead and start testing some layouts in the current project. So I typically like to start in this kind of like office building block area. These are just like a little bit smaller pieces to work with. And again, all you have to do is just select whichever piece you want to bring into your project. So right now I'm in the template. I'm going to right click on this large meeting area and I'll say copy as export. And then we'll head back into our Rayon model. So this is kind of like our working floor plan, right? And I'm going to say right click paste, and then it's going to paste it in to scale. So now I know, if this is a meeting space up here, I can just drop that right in there. And so on and so forth. So if I know that this is going to be like some open workstations, I can go back into my template, go up here and look for, some typical workstations. And, maybe I want to try out this work cluster, and I can right click, copy as export, go back into my floor plan, paste, and then it just drops in over here, and we can always just kind of delete this area zone. But then what we can do is we can kind of like rotate and place and see how we can kind of fit these in here. So, if you're trying to get a certain amount of people in here, this is a really good way to easily just space plan, do some test fits, and everything is, again, to scale, which makes it really easy. So you can kind of like continue, copy, paste, and then, if you're not liking that, maybe you want to put these clusters over here. It just makes it so easy to move it around and just do different test fits. So as you can see, when I brought these in from our template, these blocks, they already include CAD blocks in them. So, you can see here we've got like a workstation and a chair. And those were just copied directly from our template, right? But Rayon actually has a really large selection of over 10,000 blocks in top, front, and side views for section and elevation, alongside some parametric blocks and even an AI block generator, which I'll show you here in a second. But if you, for instance, wanted to replace these chairs, maybe those weren't doing it for you, let's just delete those here. And maybe we want to go find a different office chair. So we'll go over here to our blocks, and then in our libraries here, we are going to click libraries, and then you can see here that there are all these different categories of blocks. So for instance, if I know that I'm looking for office spaces, let's go to office spaces and see what we have here. So you can see there's some other different chairs. Now, if you're not finding what you like, you can go back. You can also search here, which is really nice. You can search the blocks. I actually was liking what I was seeing. So let's go back to our office space. And then if you do find something that you like, so let's say that we like this kind of chair. So I'm going to just click on that. I'm going to say open, and you can see here that it has the 3 different views. So something to keep in mind when you are copying and pasting in any like elevations or sections, you probably want to make sure that you're using the associated side views, front views with any blocks that you're bringing in. So for instance, if I like this block, I can just drag that in here, and it's going to plop it right here. And then I can just copy, paste it, and just place it at all of my workstations. So it's as easy as that. Now, again, if you are not finding something that you like in the block library here, you can use the AI block generator. So if I have this office chair here that I found online and I want to generate a block that represents that, all I need to do is go over to my AI chat here and select my image, and I'll just say use selected image. And then down here in the tools, I am going to just ask it to generate a CAD block. from this image. So I don't even have to prompt it anything. I'm just gonna say send, and it's going to do the job. And again, it's going to create a top view, a front view, and a side view, which is really, really cool, especially if you have some very specific type of furniture item and you want something more representational of that. This is where that really comes in handy. So now we can see that it has generated a CAD block for us, and it is to scale, which is really cool. All I have to do to insert this is just click my little insert button. Obviously I want a top view. So this is the top view that it made for this chair. If I do need to resize it, all I need to do is just kind of, pull in my corners, and then you can just place it as necessary. And again, it's got the side views as well, which I feel like that did a pretty good job, right? That AI generator can come in real handy for CAD blocks, and I will also show you here in a minute how it can come in handy for some other things as well. Now, before we get into talking about any more AI generation or template stuff, I do want to mention real quick parametric blocks, which are essentially blocks in the block library here that when you scale them, they don't just kind of stretch. They actually will add seats or adjust parametrically as you're scaling them. So just to show you the difference between that and also show you how to grab those, over here in our blocks, I am just going to our libraries and I'm going to add a filter in my search. Right here, I'll hit the plus button and I'll just say is parametric and hit save. And what that's going to do is that's going to show me all of these parametric blocks here. And you can tell in the top left corner, it says parametric, there's a little symbol. And again, all that means is if I go click on one of these, for instance, this meeting table, if I bring that in here, let's just look at the difference between this type of parametric meeting table and this just typical CAD block. So in this CAD block down here, if I wanted to scale this table up or down, I would just kind of go like this, and you can see that it's basically just stretching and compressing it. Whereas here, when I select this parametric table, you can see there's not really a way to drag it either way. There are these arrows though, which I can pull, and what happens then is that it will add seats to it instead of just stretching it. So that's a really easy way to make adjustments, as you're going through here and you're trying to fit different things, you realize maybe I only want 6 chairs, you can just kind of scrunch that down. And, once that's good, then copy, paste, and use it again. Could also, replace what we have here, copy, paste, use it again. And the nice thing is that when I make adjustments to one of these blocks, it doesn't make the adjustments to the other ones. It's just kind of making it to this one block that I'm doing. So that's a really cool, easy way to use parametric blocks in the block library. So after some more test fitting and adding a little bit of stylization, this is what my floor plan is looking like. And that was super easy because I just had these drag and drop blocks that I was able to kind of move around easily, just based on our template that we used. Now, the really cool thing is that you can actually transform any of your projects into a template, block, or style library just by using this share button up here. So all you guys need to do is create a template and start placing your drawings on the canvas and then sharing that. So if I just hit this share button up here, say I've created all of these styles in this project, or, I love all these blocks in here. Maybe I want to save this as a block library. All I need to do is go to my libraries here and then just say publish blocks as a block library, or publish styles as a style library. And then that will just be accessible for you in the future. Now here on the template button, you can also publish this as a template, and then that way you can add to that for the future. And again, grab and go as we've kind of been showing today. By now, you have seen how working from an office template truly speeds up the space planning and redesign process. With the core drawing process in place, I now want to show you 2 more ways to save time while also making your office drawings clearer, richer, and more persuasive for your clients. And I will start by showing you again that AI tool and how to unlock more value from your office layouts and drawings with just a few clicks. So back over here into our little AI chat, Rayon's AI panel is going to truly help you design, visualize, and refine your projects faster than ever before. From generating axonometric drawings to creating custom CAD blocks like I just showed you, producing realistic 3D renders, and even replacing furniture or materials, you can try endless prompts that are going to save you hours and unlock new creative possibilities. This is so powerful, especially during your initial design phase when you want to present clients with various options before you or they fully commit, and then dive into the shop drawings for execution. So let's go ahead and explore how we can bring a new floor plan to life by creating a 3D axonometric view and applying our mood board material choices with just a few prompts. So first things first, back in my template, I just want to go over to my mood boards and grab, one of these mood boards to let the AI look at, just kind of like to get the vibe. I'm kind of liking this one. So all I can do is just select that and again, copy as export. I'm just going to go back into my Rayon model and just kind of paste this off to the side. Sometimes it'll come in at a different scale, which is fine. You can just rescale that. We're just kind of working in our model canvas right now, which is just kind of a good place to place everything, because later we can always adjust our views in our presentation boards and just kind of cut off anything that we don't need. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here to my AI panel. I'm going to take a screenshot. So I'm going to say add screenshot, and let's add a screenshot of, we can either do the entire floor plan or we could just do a section. I think it's probably going to be better to just do a small section. So let's see here. We've got a nice little meeting space over here. So let's find a good meeting space that we want to show. Maybe we'll take a screenshot right here. So I'm just going to basically hover over what I want to screenshot. And then I'm going to add another screenshot. So we'll add a screenshot of our mood board here. And under tools, I'm going to say generate axonometry. So what that's going to do is that's going to generate an axonometric of our floor plan. And I can also prompt it here to apply the mood board materials to the axon. So let's just say apply mood board materials and style to the 3D axon. And we'll just hit send and we'll let that do the work for us. So what's kind of cool about this is that it does kind of like the 3D modeling for us. Again, I think this is especially useful in the early stages. Eventually you might want to get into 3D modeling for more like detailed, specific design work. But on the early end of the design process, this is just super, super powerful and helpful just in your communication. Okay, so now we can see over here that it has generated our image. I can just say preview, and it looks like it really took into consideration the different meeting spaces, the different workstations, and even these kind of like little huddle areas. Now, it didn't get the geometry 100% right. It didn't get the materials 100% right. But what we can do is we can say insert this image, and then if you want to further refine it, it looks like it's kind of adding a little bit more here as I do that. You can just continue to either use the images that it has given you or just generate new axons. So let's go ahead and insert the second option. So it looks like here it took into consideration a little bit more of the mood board, right? So we've got like our black meeting table, we've got our like cognac leather chairs. It even put in some ceiling stuff for us. We've got these little pendant lights. So again, it's really trying to stay true to some of this, mood board stuff that we gave it. Now you can always stylize these differently as well. So what I can do is I can select this axon and over here say use selected image. And then under tools, I can stylize. So I can say, if I want it as a clay model or a hand sketch or something like that. So maybe we don't want to show materials, but we just kind of want to show the idea. That's a good way to, using the clay style is a good way to just kind of represent geometry. So I think this is just like amazing that this is able to do this and so quickly. And like so accurately. Like, of course, it's not 100% accurate, and we only did a little sliver here. So, the AI is trying to close that in. But, maybe if you selected your entire floor plan, it would actually, stay true to all of those walls and openings. Okay, so if we pop over here, we can see that it took that same axon and it basically just stripped all of the materials, but it kept it like realistic. So we still have some light and shadow in there. So I think that's really cool. It even actually, you can see that it took into consideration like this hatch pattern on the floor. You can still kind of see that without actually seeing the materials. So again, super, super awesome that you can do that just so quickly. And again, you can just kind of like place these images that it generates kind of anywhere on your working model canvas here. And then later, which I'm going to show you here in a second, we can actually put these on presentation boards. So now that our design intent is looking so much clearer, not only to our clients, but to us as well, let's see how it all comes together in the final part where we set up our client presentation. So back in the template here, I'm going to head over to our presentation template. And as you can kind of see, Rayon is honestly a one-stop shop to go all the way from concept design to construction drawings and client presentations. And we'll use our paper canvas to set up some of our drawings. So that way we always have our drawings represented in our document and up to date. So let's go ahead and dive in and see how we can do that. Again, I've got these presentation template pages already set up for me in my template. So all I have to do is just select those, just window over those, right click, copy as export. And then back in my working model, I'm gonna go down to paper canvas. Now I don't have any pages on here. So it's asking me if I wanna create a page, but I'm not going to because I actually already have some that I'm gonna paste in here. So I'll just right click and we can say paste or paste in place. Let's just go ahead and paste those, zoom in, and now we have our presentation started, right? This makes it really easy for using the drawings that we've already started and the images that we already have and just kind of placing those views on these presentation pages. So, it looks like our, table of contents, we've got the right mood going on. Obviously, you can replace any of these images if those aren't looking right. But for instance here, this is probably where we'd show our floor plan. And so what I can do is I can go ahead and add my little plus sign and go to view from model canvas. So the model canvas, as you remember, is kind of like our working canvas, and then our paper canvas is more of our presentation canvas. So if I add a view from our model canvas, what it's going to do is it's going to just place a view. It's just placing what's on my model canvas, which is great. Now we can see that it's a little bit, the floor plan's maybe a little bit too big. So to easily rescale that, I just kind of place it on the page that I'm going to put it. And over here, we can change the scale. So maybe we do like a 1 to 100 maybe. We just want to make it fit on the page. 1 to 125 might work. Okay, so we can see that that fits nicely. Now, of course, we've got this other stuff kind of like lurking in the side. All you have to do is hold down your shift key or command key and just kind of scrunch in this view. I kind of like to think of it as like a frame. So we're just kind of scrunching in the frame, and now that's sitting really nicely in here. And then if you do make any changes in your model canvas, like let's just say that you decide to start adding your dimensions. Whenever you make any changes in here in the model canvas, we've got our dimension right there. If I go back to my paper canvas, now you can see that that change is accurate. So that model canvas is kind of like the one source of truth, and then your presentation canvas is just where you kind of display it. So moving to the next page, if you had maybe some of your elevations or more detailed drawings that you've grabbed from the office template, let's go back to our model canvas and let's go to our office template and check out some of these office layouts. Maybe this is an accurate representation, or maybe you need to make some adjustments, but let's say this is a good section of one of your conference rooms. So we can just right click, copy as export, back into our model. I'm just going to paste that in here and it'll paste to scale. Let's say you made your adjustments there, and let's bring in one more. So back in our office template, let's just copy this one as well. So we'll just right click, copy as export. And again, if those aren't right, maybe take a look at some of these other ones. Like this, maybe this one's more accurate. These ones are probably more accurate. So let's grab those. Let's go right click, copy as export, back into our model, paste them. And then now we've got some sections and elevations that we can then in our paper canvas, again, add that view. So plus sign view from model canvas. And then now we've got our drawings on here. So again, you can just kind of like scrunch in as needed. So let's say we're gonna lay it out like that, and you might want to get your size right first, your scale. So, maybe scale those, and then we can add in another view here. So we'll do view, model canvas, and what did I just make that, 1 to 50? So then we can again scrunch in and just start to build there. And then the nice thing is, like I said, if you make any updates in your model canvas, those will automatically reflect in your presentation canvas. So if we just kind of set these over here, maybe add some little title blocks or whatever, labels, then this really starts coming together. And then down here, there's, if you wanted to update some of your mood board stuff or some of your details, these are all just here and easy and ready to adjust. Now, the cool thing is that if you are working as a team in Rayon, you can work together in real time. So in order to invite teammates, you can just, again, go back to that share button up here. enter their email, put them in as an editor, an admin, a viewer, and then you will just invite them to be able to access and edit or view your Rayon model. Now, another really cool thing that I love is that you can actually just generate a public presentation link. So if you go to the presentation tab here and say publish presentation, this will give you a link, just a URL link that you can send directly to your client so they can view this as a presentation. So instead of having to go through the process of saving a PDF or saving JPEGs, this link will just take them directly to the presentation. And if I hit open, this is what it will look like. So as you can see here, this is kind of what it looks like. And, you can just go page by page. Obviously, it looks like maybe there needs to be some reorganizing in the page numbers, but it's just kind of nice because this is just a very viewable, it's basically like viewing a PDF, but without having to export the PDF. Now, if you do want to export a PDF, if we go back into our model, you can easily just do that by clicking the hamburger menu over here and go to export PDF and then do either all of your pages or just one page, whichever you need. So it's just super easy to not only share with your teammates, but also share with your clients. So today we have explored how to design offices as a system, not a series of one-off drawings, moving away from repeatedly rebuilding the same details, space plans, workstations, and moving toward a growing library that gets better and better with each project. By working from a single template that combines reusable layouts, editable CAD blocks, and presentation-ready assets, you can move faster during early planning, communicate your ideas more clearly, and deliver documentation with far less friction. And then over time, your workflow doesn't just save time, it compounds. The best way to start is simple. Take one of your past office projects, turn it into a template, save the details that you use the most, and let your future work build on what you've already done. Again, you can create a free Rayon account using the link in the description below to duplicate the templates from this walkthrough and adapt them to your own office design practice. Thanks for following along, and I will see you in the next tutorial.